Hey Freedom Lovers, this is Dr. Peterson Pierre with America's Frontline Doctors bringing you today's Daily Dose. I'm sure you've all noticed by now the news about a bird flu health crisis, sick birds, egg shortages, price hikes. The empty shelves, constant updates, and confusing directives likely stir up memories of COVID. But there's a reason why bird flu feels like a repeat performance. For starters, officials have been warning about a coming bird flu pandemic for years, but every instance of fear-mongering about a lethal bird flu has turned out to be false. Now, bird flu is making headlines again. If it seems like deja vu, you're not imagining it. It's deliberate. Dr. Clayton Baker, an internal medicine physician and author with the Brownstone Institute, cuts through the noise. Quote, "Bird flu is a complete rerun of the COVID script. Only now it's your food supply, not your freedom, under siege." He continues, "Last time with COVID, the pandemic planning bioterrorists directly blackmailed us by taking away our civil rights in order to coerce us to accept their unsafe and ineffective vaccines. This time with bird flu, the pandemic planning bioterrorists are indirectly blackmailing us by targeting our food in order to coerce us to accept more of their unsafe and ineffective vaccines into our food supply and those who supply it." End quote. So what exactly is bird flu? So H5N1 is a virus that typically affects birds such as chickens and ducks. It's been present in wild bird populations for decades. The USDA reports that since 2022, more than 150 million birds have been killed due to this virus, with 41.4 million culled between December of last year and January 2025 alone. With tens of millions of chickens lost, eggs and poultry have of course become scarcer and costlier. Egg prices are expected to increase even more, 20.3% this year, and reach a 45-year peak in January. Furthermore, vaccines are likely to be introduced into our food supply, altering what we consume without our consent. For instance, the USDA granted a conditional license to pharmaceutical company Zoetis for its bird flu vaccine. Conditional license, emergency use authorization, you see the parallel? According to Baker, the CEO of Zoetis, formerly a subsidiary of Pfizer, has, quote, "close ties to Pfizer, BlackRock, and the Gates Foundation, all well-established bad actors during the COVID era," end quote. Further, many aren't aware that in 2012, scientists genetically modified the wild H5N1 virus in a lab to create a pandemic strain that could spread through the air, raising concerns about unintended releases and lab leaks, a risk that feels all too familiar in the post-COVID era. Bird flu shifts the focus from lockdowns to our food supply. Instead of confining us, authorities are culling flocks to create food shortages that pressure us into accepting vaccines. Baker explains that this isn't a conspiracy theory, it's pattern recognition. Quote, "To perpetuate the mass slaughter and worsen food shortages, public health authorities are performing indiscriminate PCR testing for the virus among the animal population and farmers, knowing full well that this will generate countless false positives. Authorities are using this excessive testing along with media-generated fear-mongering and governmental abuse of power to prolong the mass slaughter of farm animals and the food shortages. The mass slaughter of farm animals and resulting food shortages are being used to blackmail the population into mass acceptance of the vaccines in their food supply in exchange for a return to normal life," end quote. Ladies and gentlemen, only the truth will set you free. Stay tuned for the next Daily Dose.